This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Brent Barnett, and Riley Smith. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Good day and welcome to this edition of Ag Matters PM for Friday, the 8th of April. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Coming up in today's show, Brent Barnett will be talking to the folks at Farmers Business Network about some of their planting estimates. I also talk with Iowa 3rd District Congresswoman Cindy Axne. We'll take a look at your ag weather outlook. But first, let's run down how the markets closed. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, it's time now to run down how those markets shook out for your Friday, and for that we turn to Jacob Burks from agmarket.net. Jacob, we had the WASDE report today. First of all, what did that do to the markets?
Well, I think the markets looked at the WASDE for just a little bit, and then we turned right back to weather, to be honest with you. The April report's not one that's typical for throwing a lot of wrinkles into this marketplace. If you watch closely during the 11 o'clock hour, the corn market took it negative for just a little bit. Most of that was coming off of your global numbers. They increased global corn stocks by 5 million metric ton, and so that caught the attention of the market. Went negative for just a little bit, rallied out of there pretty quickly. And now we're watching the corn market go into the close here a dime higher in the front months and about a nickel higher in the back months. Okay,
so on the soybean side of things, how did it look there?
From the soybean perspective, the focal point was in the global numbers, what they're doing with South American numbers. We saw CONAB come out yesterday, take it down a little bit, but they're at the 122 million metric tons. USDA went down to 125, but right along with what everybody was expecting to see. This has been a risk on trade all week long for the soybeans. It didn't disappoint here going into Friday. We're back above the pre-acreage number report last week. We're going to settle up here 40 cents higher in the front months, and back months still up 30 cents. So this is a very, very impressive week, in my opinion, on this soybean trade.
And as I talked with a couple of your people here during the week, they said that the April doesn't necessarily hold a lot of weight. Now, anything can happen. But now, as we look at May being the first month to start looking at new crop projections, you mentioned weather. Obviously, now is when we're going to start turning that attention. I mean, here in Iowa, we're not ready to turn wheels yet in the ground. But I'm assuming that the longer this goes, the more that's going to become a concern.
It's a very big concern right now. The American farmer typically finds a way to get the crop in the ground, and we will. But right now, there's people getting antsy. There's people in the southern part of the Corn Belt that probably would be throwing some dirt around. You got people in the western Corn Belt that the only clouds they see are the clouds of dust right now. And so I think that there's a couple of different perspectives here of I fear. When we're looking at a corn and bean market that needs to maximize yields. And to get those in, we obviously want to be in there early as possible to do that. And there's just some fear starting to set in. I think this grain market and along with the beans could add quite a bit of premium due to weather as we go forward. And personally, I think that's what we're seeing here is a little bit of weather, weather scared, knowing that not only is it wet in the central part, the southern part of the Corn Belt, dry in the western. But you're also, you're getting that forecast out there that doesn't look like it's going to do a whole lot to help here in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, for at least the start of planting, we're in a decent condition here. It's always good to go in when it's dry, and you don't want to have to wait a long time for things to dry out. But we're pretty tapped, as many farmers have said. I mean, they exhausted everything down to almost steam once in a while. They said, so it's going to be interesting if we don't start getting some rain soon in this area.
Yeah. There's two different stories, and I don't want to put a whole lot into this. Is all just weather. I mean, we're looking at a pretty good perfect storm brewing here. When you're talking about global supply issues, you're talking about different feed numbers are still strong. I mean, if you take a look, the cattle market I thought performed pretty well here this week. Feeder cattle, especially as the grains have continued to rally, probably going to settle here at new all-time highs here in the December contract of the corn. So there is this perfect storm brewing. You got South American production, the global stocks numbers 305 million metric ton. We have an increase, but that's over in Ukraine in a situation where we're really struggling to figure out if we're going to be able to get any grain. And then if we can figure out if we are going to get grain out of there, how much we're going to see coming out of that area. So the globalization of the grain trade is changing significantly. And I think the risk-on mentality is here to stay. We'll see here this afternoon when the Commitment of Trader report comes out, what these funds decided to do. But as of last week, you're watching the bean market take a pretty good hit with higher acreage numbers. And I would suspect that this week you're going to see a pretty big jump up here with the traders going back into the bean market and adding risk, putting risk back on.
So then, as you mentioned cattle there, I mean, what's been the story behind them keeping that strength, that momentum, despite the fact that the grains are doing well, and also the same token, what's going on in the hog market?
This is, like I said, pretty good trade, I would say, for this week. We beat the cattle up, beat the hogs up significantly in the hogs. But for the feeder cattle, to see 10, 15 higher, making new highs on the new crop, they're holding in there pretty strong. Down only a dime here today. Feeder cattle, trading in that April contract around 156.55. Your fat cattle are down about 27 cents. April lives are at 137. Cash trade this week came up at the end of the week a little bit here in the north. We saw cutouts rise a little bit here in the fat cattle here at the end of the day today. Your hog numbers, the carcass weight, the carcass cutouts were up a little bit here, quite a bit at noon. But a strong recovery. If you look technically at the hog market, they sold off pretty hard all week long. With the strong finish today, finding a little bit of stability in that hog market. I think that we could see that move back up into the summer months, into that 120 to 130 area. Now you got to look at that these prices are actually, relatively to where we've been historically, are pretty good. So I think that there's some opportunities there. That if we get a pullback in these grains, that I think the feeder cattle could come up later into the year. But you're also seeing that same dryness out west push a lot of cattle earlier than expected, and that's keeping a weight on these feeder cattle for now.
All right, Jacob. Well, a lot of good information that you gave us here today. If producers out there want to talk some marketing strategies with the folks at agmarket.net, how do they get in touch with you all?
Well, first of all, we got a pretty good team put together, and you've talked to one of them every day. And right now, what we're doing, we're encouraging guys just to go to the website there. We've got the opportunity for you to get. We put out a lot of information all week long, every day, and when you can sign up for a 30-day free trial, which that's what I would encourage you to do. Get familiar with this. Look at the things that we have, and from there we can. There's the phone number will be on there. You can find it and get a hold of any one of us guys here at agmarket.net.
All right. Well, Jacob, we thank you so much for the insight and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Good weekend.
And that was Jacob Burks of agmarket.net here on the Ag Matters PM program. Let's go ahead and take a look at how those markets shook out, courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. July corn closed up 10.5 at 7.60 3/4. December new crop up 7 at 7.16 even. July beans up 41 cents at 16.68 even. November new crop up 29 1/4. That's at 14.95 1/2. Soy meal was up $8.20 at 4.6260. Soy oil up $1.97 at 73.47. Chicago wheat up 33 cents at 10.58 1/4. Minneapolis wheat up 27.5 at 11.26 3/4. Kansas wheat up 36 3/4 at 11.10 even. Oats up 27 cents at 7.55 1/4. On the livestock side, June live cattle 27 cents lower at 133.82. May feeders down a dime at 159.37. April lean hogs down 2 cents at 99.02. Pork cutouts up a dime at 105.25. And Class 3 milk was a nickel higher at 24.18. And that's been a check of our market recap here on Ag Matters PM. Coming up after this short break from the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff, Brent Barnett talks with the folks at Farmers Business Network. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Last week, we heard from the United States Department of Agriculture in their planting intentions report, in which they estimated the acreage that will be planted into corn and soybeans this year. However, until the planters are actually done rolling, these are just estimates, and so everybody has one. Farmers Business Network is no stranger to making those estimates as well, and Brent Barnett caught up with their Kevin McNew to see what they had in store for 2022.
Farmers Business Network released its spring planting report ahead of USDA's March 31st report. Here today to tell us all about it is FBN Chief Economist Kevin McNew. Kevin, good morning. How are you doing here today?
I'm doing good, Brent. Thanks for having me on the program.
Absolutely. And so let's just start from the top, Kevin. What were some of the main highlights that came out of FBN's planting report that we saw this week?
You know, for Iowa farmers, I'm sure they're most concerned about corn and beans, and most of the market's concerned about that. What we saw was corn numbers going down a little more than what the overall trade thinks they're going to go down, and bean numbers a little higher. Corn in particular, we came in at a U.S. number that's 91.1. That's below the trade analyst expectations of 92 and would be off from last year's read of 93.4. On beans, a little higher than the trade we came in at 89.2. The trade generally at 88.9. And the reason we're kind of different, I would say, is because of some of the alternative crops that other farmers around the country, everything is so strong in terms of prices. And also, you have fertilizer values that are really kind of influencing decisions. So, you know, some of the nuances are really important in kind of spring wheat country, cotton country, that we can talk about as well.
So what are these trends maybe seeing here for the ag markets? What kind of an impact are we possibly seeing for the ag markets this year based on these planting trends?
You know, we've been in a bull market for the last 18 months. And, you know, quite frankly, what happened in the last 30 days around Eastern Europe just added more fuel to the fire. Today, as we're talking, there's, you know, kind of a hint of maybe some peace offerings that are coming. I'm still skeptical about it. You know, there's so much that has changed in the last 30 days. It's hard to imagine a world that is normalized in any meaningful way, especially in the 22 growing season. So I think, you know, my take on it is these numbers that we're talking about around USDA's March 31st report are pretty inconsequential because of this big, lack of demand or lack of supply story from Eastern Europe. You know, we know Ukraine's in the throes of war. Russia is banished as a global trading partner. You know, these are big losses, especially for wheat, but even for oil seeds, corn and such. And so I don't think this story is over. And I think the bull story that has got us here over the last 18 months is still firmly in place. So I do think there's more upside in corn and beans possibly as well, even though the bean acres may be a little higher.
And at the same time, Kevin, we're also dealing with the high fuel prices across the country. Inflation has been a problem. You might just discuss these fundamentals a little bit and what you're seeing on that front.
Yeah, that is such a pain point for farmers. And, you know, especially fertilizer. Let's start there. You know, fertilizer prices really got going in the fall, kind of driven by a couple of factors. One was natural gas skyrocketing as of what was going on in Europe's demand base. You also had outages in some key production facilities in the U.S. And so natural gas, or all of those things kind of led to skyrocketing fertilizer prices into December. And then they started to back down. And I wouldn't say they were getting close to normal, but they were certainly getting better and coming down off their highs. But then that all shifted with the outbreak of war. And the reason that shifted was twofold. Natural gas prices again took off because of the implications around Russia. And then we have Russia and Belarus, which are major fertilizer suppliers to the world, which were banished from the world market. So again, we have now even higher fertilizer prices than we did at their peak in December. So I don't see that normalizing as we enter the 22 growing season. You mentioned fuel prices. That I don't think normalizes. We had a really strong case for $100 a barrel oil, I think even before Eastern Europe, because our demand was outstripping global supply. And so again, I find anything changing here to be not likely to give us a big cost relief as farmers get into key buying season.
Kevin, before we go today, you just might discuss how FBN puts together their planting report data and how farmers in Iowa can utilize that information.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. FBN started 7 years ago. around taking farmer data and anonymizing it, aggregating it, and analyzing it for the best interest of farmers, whether it was around agronomic decisions, seed selection, chem pricing, and now around acreage. So we are very fortunate that our farmers share that data with us through surveys and polling, and we get a lot of that data coming in throughout the season. And so we turn it back to them in terms of informed decisions. So our producers that shared that data got it first thing Monday morning, well ahead of anyone else. And so, we hope that this is helping them in these uncertain times make important marketing decisions.
Awesome. Kevin, what's the best way they can stay connected with your team? Do you have a website and socials to pass along?
Yeah, fbn.com. Go check us out, and hope you'll sign up. It's a free membership. Lots of value for being part of FBN.
Well, Kevin, always appreciate it. Thanks for the insight. Stay safe, and hopefully we can catch up again here sometime soon.
Thanks, Brent.
Again, that's FBN Chief Economist Kevin McNew joining us on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
Thanks, Brent. We appreciate that report, and always interesting to hear other takes on what could happen in the growing season. Now let's take a look at that ag weather outlook. Well, we started the day with some snow flurries here in the capital city as promised. The sun is trying to poke its way through here, as it will across most of the state here overnight. It will clear off and get plenty cold. Let's take a look at what the National Weather Service has in store. Well, as you can see here today, we saw the sun start to break through across parts of the state as that snow mixture started to move its way off to the east. We saw highs today in that 40-degree range. Now, tonight, we are going to see that rain and snow start to diminish throughout the evening. We'll see lows dipping down to about 22 to 29 degrees, and then kicking off your weekend Saturday. Looks to be mostly sunny across most of the state, maybe some clouds here and there, but nothing too big of a deal. And we should see highs of 52 to 59 degrees. As we look closer at the affiliate weather map, you can see up in Cherokee, they will be sunny in 56. Shenandoah, the hot spot, sunny in 59. Des Moines, sunny in 55. Albion, Waterloo will be looking at sunny skies and 52 degrees. And Clinton, actually the cooler spot, we should see sunny skies and a high of around 50. For more detailed forecasts in your local area, tune to your Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of your ag weather outlook. Speaking of weather and the National Weather Service, when we come back after this short break, I talk with Iowa Congresswoman Cindy Axne about much-needed upgrades to the messaging systems and the alert systems at the National Weather Service. This is Ag Matters PM.
As we approach planting season, make sure you stay safe and share the road with your local farmers. Slow-moving tractors with large planters occupy a lot of space on the road, so stay patient and follow at a distance of around 50 feet. You should never, ever try to pass them at a bridge, intersection, hill, or curve. It's far better than putting yourself or someone else at risk. So please, stay safe and remember to tip your hat to your local farmer this planting season. This message was brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. It was just last month when we had our second round of wintertime tornadoes after we ended 2021 in December with a few twisters. Unfortunately, this second round of tornadoes was deadly, and minutes were lost in getting information to the citizens of Iowa. The Iowa congressional delegation is not accepting any excuses and want to know what happened, and they're also working hard to upgrade the system the National Weather Service uses. And I talked with Iowa Congresswoman Cindy Axne about the situation. All right, another topic that we're going to be talking about today is involving the National Weather Service and concerns the alert system and the system they have that's known as NWS Chat and some of the things that need to be updated in that program. Tell us what's going on. We got the whole Iowa delegation behind this one. What's going on?
Yeah. So we've got the whole Iowa delegation behind fixing the issues that we're seeing from the National Weather Service and not giving us enough lead time in Iowa to ensure we can protect our folks and our property as much as possible. What we saw, so two things are happening. First started, I led a letter and got all of our Iowa delegation to co-lead it with me, a letter to the National Weather Service to basically say, we want to know why the heck this happened. We want to know how the heck 6 minutes went by without us receiving the information that we could have used here to possibly save people's lives. And so that's the first thing that we went after, which was we're going to get to the bottom of this, every single bit of it, and make sure that we fix it. And then secondly, we've all joined together, and Rep. Feenstra started it, and then we're all leading it with him, this bill to move the chat service to the cloud. So within the National Weather Service, you pointed out this chat situation that they have. That's literally their communication method with the emergency management offices around the country. Now, if they're having a problem down there, we can't have that affect Iowa. So this bill will move that chat service to the cloud, eliminate any technology disruption that could happen on ground, which it can. And so that will create some risk mitigation as well as security around getting the information here to us quickly, because it won't be beholden to some technical glitches that could happen in a server capacity or with fiber. Now, I will tell folks, I think this is a great bill, and I'm really looking forward to having this. It also has to be in tandem, as I mentioned, with the other things that we're requesting from them. Because even if we move it to the cloud, which is a great opportunity for us, and I'm really glad we're doing this, that does not eliminate human error or other things that could have happened on the other side. So we also got to make sure that we're looking at that. But it does secure messaging so that if the chat truly did just go down that particular program, that will be gone, and we will have saved those 6 minutes and hopefully have saved some lives.
You know, when you talk about that 6 minutes, having done severe weather coverage in my career as well, 6 minutes is an eternity when you're talking about a tornado or a fast-moving thunderstorm, and to not have a lag time where you don't know as a journalist what to give to your listeners or viewers because the system is down. That, like you said, that is a matter of life and death right there.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing. As we all know, my goodness, we're familiar with tornadoes in Iowa. You're probably like me. I have memories of grabbing the transistor radio on my favorite doll and hiding in a shower with my sisters as my mom and dad weren't there. We're all familiar with this, in Iowa. But when we're seeing tornadoes like that in March, in winter still, at a level that is extreme, we have absolutely got to get ahead of the communication methodology, because we are seeing more extreme weather patterns go through. We all know that. And to your point, the 6 minutes is life-saving. And that's why this is so important, because we just cannot, with everything that's happening around us, whether it is tornadoes or floods, I think about even out, folks out west with fires, whatever it is, there's no reason we should be waiting to get the information. We should not be beholden to people in another state all around this country to keep people in our own districts safe. So it's really important we get this done as those extreme weather patterns continue to just plague us all across the country, and definitely in Iowa.
Well, definitely there's some good news to hopefully get that system upgraded and, like you said, bring it into the modern times once again. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, that system was great, but now things have changed, technology's changed, and obviously, like you said, weather patterns have changed. And just for me, it was in the basement scrubbing potatoes and re-alphabetizing the salsas and the ketchups and stuff that Mom put up all during the summer. That's how I spent tornado warnings.
That is true Iowa form. Make your kid work during a tornado. That's hilarious.
Well, Congresswoman Axne, we thank you so much for the update and look forward to hearing more of them in the future.
Hey, always love it. Great to be with all of you today. Thank you so much.
That's Iowa 3rd District Congresswoman Cindy Axne here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. And that's it for this edition of Ag Matters PM. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. You can find us on social media through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also Instagram. You can find all our video products as well as previous episodes of AMPM through our YouTube channel. Don't forget about our twice daily marketing podcasts that come out through Google, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Brent Barnett and Riley Smith, we thank you for watching. This is Ag Matters PM.